On today's episode of Locked On Angels, the Halos win a series for the first time since, the beginning of April. I know it's the Pirates, but it's something, and we need something to hang on to. We're going to tell you how they won this series, how they won yesterday's game. Super excited. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Your favorite board game is now on your phone. Download Monopoly Go today and team up with friends and family for tournaments to unlock incredible Monopoly prizes. Do what over 150 million people have already done. Download Monopoly Go today, free on the Google Play Store and the App Store.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, it's our not one, not two, but third season here at Locked On Angels as the hosts of Locked On Angels, the Super Halo Bros in the house. And we love talking Angels baseball every Monday through Friday with you. Thank you for being a Locked On Everydayer with us. Of course, you can find us at Locked On Angels on Twitter, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. And if you haven't done so already, just like Mike said, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It really helps us out, helps Mike and I personally. You want to help the Halo Bros out? You like hanging out with us? Subscribe. Really helps us out. Mike, on today's show, we're going to get everybody ready for this Royals series that's coming up. It's a 4-game set, so it starts tonight at the Big A. The Royals are an interesting team, and we'll talk about why. We're going to look at the upcoming schedule and say, does it get easier? Do things get easier for this team on the road ahead? Let's talk about that. But first, let's recap yesterday's big win against the Pirates. It was a 5-4 victory, Mike, and it was the first Angels series win since they swept the Marlins last month. It was over five weeks ago. So
yeah,
here we go.
They did it with another lineup that wouldn't inspire a rock, because there was not really much that happened with this lineup. When you first look at it, you're like, yeah, AAA lineup.
It was another Cactus League lineup, Mike.
Yes,
and of course they found a way to win, just like we always say.
Yeah. Adrianza led off. Cole Tucker was batting second. Pilar was batting cleanup after his big night.
Did you like that, considering he had that monster night the night before?
I think you give him a shot, especially if he's coming through like he is, and he does have a history of surprising you, and I don't think he should be a starter right now. I know he's a starter because of injuries and things like that, but I like having him in there because Pilar has a way of rising to the occasion, or at least historically, he has a way of rising to the occasion.
Right.
Cole Tucker, not Cole Tucker, I already talked about him. Willie Calhoun was in the lower part of the lineup and was the only lefty to start because Perez, the starter for the Pirates, was a lefty. The Angels faced Martin Perez. He was 8-6 against the Angels in his career.
Martin.
Yes. to say hi to Martin. Isn't it the boyfriend on site? Okay. Anyway, 25 appearances, 20 starts, a 4.20 ERA, and things got started, Johnny, in the third inning. Jo Adell kind of on the schneid, getting off the schneid and finding his way back. He got the scoring started with a solo home run to center field. Don't look at me like that.
What's the schneid?
That's the old ESPN Sports Center term.
Okay.
That's a Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, old man term.
That's fair.
He hit the first pitch, Johnny, to center field. And it was great to see him because he had been struggling and his batting average a bit lower than 300 because he was really hot for a while. But to see him get the home run was really good news.
I don't know if it was the camera work or Swinsky out there looking like he had it. He was tracking the ball really well up to the wall, but I didn't think it was going out. And then it did. And I think it even kind of fooled the broadcasters as well, Mike.
There's been some weird camera angles. In fact, just the last couple of games, you're like, That's a fly ball to left field, but it looks like it's going to go out of the stadium the way that the camera was on that ball. So I don't think that's the first time that there's been some weird moments with fly balls in this series.
They fooled me, Jerry. In the fifth inning,
fooled more.
In the fifth inning, Brandon Drury had a double, and then Calhoun grounded out to first, which moved Drury to third. Then Jo Adell singled up the middle to score Drury. It was Jo Adell's second RBI of the day, Mike, and I loved the productive outs, the productive situational hitting in that moment. And so it was 2-0.
Yeah.
And we felt pretty good coming into this one because Jose Soriano got the start in this one. In fact, Logan O'Hoppe, he manned up and decided to catch today, even though he had a night game the day before. So I was happy to see that. However, Jose Soriano got into a bit of trouble. We'll talk about that. But here was his final line for the day. 4 2/3 innings pitched. He had 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts across 82 pitches. He cruised through most of the game, Mike, and it looked like it was going to be another dominant Jose Soriano start. And I will say that, for those first 4 innings, that's kind of what it was. He kept the Pirates off the board. He was getting the best guys in that lineup out. I know that he scattered some hits, but they never really came back to bite him. And even though he had maybe a leadoff double or a 1-out double, he was able to get around that. But then in the 5th inning, there was a ground out, a double, and a ground out. And then there were 2 outs in this situation. He walked the next 2 batters. He walked McCutchen and he walked Reynolds. And I don't know why he wasn't using the knuckle curve in those situations. Maybe he just didn't have a feel for it, which obviously can happen to a starting pitcher, but he just was not hitting the zone, and he was just really teasing the edges and not getting any calls because the umpire yesterday was absolutely awful, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a story for a different time. Oneil Cruz, Mike, who, mind you, is 6'7",
huge,
reached for a splitter, which was down, away, and under the strike zone.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a bases clearing double. And just, again, 6'7", the guy has a wingspan of a giant. And so he was able to reach down and hit that splitter. It wasn't a bad pitch by any means. It was something normal guys would swing over, but not Oneil Cruz. Right after that, Connor Joe singled, which scored Oneil Cruz from second. That ended up being the end for Soriano. And the score at that point was 4-2.
Because Soriano is learning how to pitch, and because Soriano has had a few really strong starts, I'm not too bothered by yesterday's start because he's developing and you can see him maturing and growing and figuring it out along the way. Yeah. This isn't Tyler Anderson imploding or Patrick Sandoval imploding like we've seen in years past. This is him figuring out what works, and Logan O'Hoppe figuring out what pitches work for Soriano in that moment. And perhaps O'Hoppe didn't call for the knuckle curve because he's still learning. And maybe it also had to do with maybe Soriano didn't have a feel for it, but they're going to learn how to be better in those moments. And when they do learn, watch out, because Soriano has just a wicked arm and he has really great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just hoping it holds up after 2 career Tommy John surgeries. So,
yeah.
Let's enjoy this arm while it lasts, Michael.
Right.
How about the Angels answering back in this one, the next half inning, Mike? Why don't you talk about that?
Right. Yeah, that's usually not something that has happened too often, especially the last few seasons, including this season, right?
Yes.
Like when we get hit hard, we don't come back. Or if we do get good hits, our pitchers give up the runs, right? And so here's how they came back. Taylor Ward back in the lineup. He singled. Then Pilar singled. And then Martin was taken out for Ortiz. And then O'Hoppe singled. Ward, he scored, and Pilar goes to third. Then Drury, who is in desperate need of some hits, he doubled in this game. It looked like it should have been a home run.
It looked like it was going out. Yeah. And it was the second double of the day, by the way.
Yeah. And it would have been a home run in Angel Stadium. And I hate that because there's been a lot of those lately. It scored Pilar. O'Hoppe goes to third. Then Calhoun hits a sac fly. O'Hoppe scores and Drury heads to third. Johnny, it made it 5-4 the very next half inning.
That was so great to see, and great to see them answer back because, like you said, this is not a team that has often answered back. And so to get to Martin Perez, who again he's got fine numbers against the Angels in his career, But good grief, man. Every time we face him, it seems like he gets the better of the Angels. So it was good to see them actually get the better of him and get him yanked. And then they went to Luis Ortiz and they were able to pile on in that moment. Mike, how about the bullpen in this one? 4 1/3 innings of hitless baseball.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, I loved the bullpen management and the usage in this one, because here is how it went down. After Soriano got pulled, of course, there were 2 outs. Simber finished off the inning for Soriano. He came back out in the 6th. He struck out the side. By the way, because they scored and made it 5-4, Simber picked up the win in this one.
Yeah, it's 3-0.
Matt Moore had a clean 7th inning. He faced the lefty, O'Neal Cruz, in the 8th and got him to pop out. So he actually got 4 outs in this one. Luis Garcia then came in and got the remaining 2 outs in the 8th, which was great to see. Carlos Estevez, who a lot of people were asking, why did he pitch the night before? Jeff Fletcher noted that he hadn't pitched in a week.
Yeah.
And so it was more of a shake off the rust kind of thing. There was opportunity, or I should say, there was a reason to be nervous.
Right.
But I got to thinking about last week. Remember that Carlos Estevez pitched, he threw 26 pitches in that first game he went out against the Phillies.
Yeah.
And then came out the very next night. Last night, or no, 2 nights ago when he got the rust off, didn't throw very many pitches. So it seems like you got to keep the pitch count in mind. Maybe it's not even a matter of going back-to-back days. He's got a limit. And I understand. I know you say it all the time. Like, just go out there and be a dude and do your job as a bullpen guy. But if there's anything to be learned here, perhaps maybe Carlos shouldn't be throwing more than 40 pitches in a given time. I don't know. You make of that what you will. However, doesn't matter, because he got the save and it was only with a 1-run lead. He got Triolo to fly out. Sawinski struck out swinging. And then Joey Bart thought it was ball 4, but it actually
walked down to first base.
3. Yeah. And so that was the end of the game. And the Angels won 5-4.
Johnny, some tough news. Brandon Drury, after the game, we got word that he left after his second double because of hamstring tightness.
Yeah, it's back.
Every time this guy gets his bat hot, something happens to him. Jeff Fletcher tweeted that Drury said his hamstring isn't feeling very good right now, and he's going to get it checked out tomorrow, which is today. The tweet was from yesterday. Tough to see, because his bat, again, was really coming around, and this is the second time it's happened to him this season. And that home run ball that he hit in Boston was great, and then he hurt his hamstring, and now he has a 2-double game, and now that hamstring is tender again. He said it doesn't feel good at all.
Yeah, I'm wondering how they're going to move things around. I mean, look, we found out specifically Luis Rengifo has been dealing with a sickness where he's got fevers, and then he's got blisters on his foot, and so he can't even play in the field. They said he could hit and run the bases, but man, just standing up has been painful for him. And so that's a problem. Mike, if they have to do something with Drury on the IL, I wonder, because he's swinging a hot bat right now, if Hunter Dozier would be the one to come up and play some infield. I understand they've got Cole Tucker in there. Cole Tucker's a little shaky at third. Dozier has historically not been a great third baseman. But I will say, for the short amount of time that you would need him to cover third base, I think that he wouldn't be any worse than Rengifo, looking at like the ultimate zone rating stats on Fangraphs and whatnot. So that might be an option. We'll see how this Brandon Drury thing kind of plays out here. The Angels are 14-23. They're 9 games under 500, back to single digits. How about that? How about single digit under 500? Mike, it's a good series win. Long time coming. It's been forever since they had one. So we're celebrating that today. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. The Angels are playing the Royals tonight at the Big A, 6:38 Pacific time. It's going to be Reed Detmers on the mound. We're going to get you ready for that Royals series, because they're an interesting team, and we want you to be up to speed. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast at SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, is the road ahead any easier? Well, Mike, you did a little bit of research. You checked out the schedule, and we're going to figure out if the Angels are going to have an easier time of it coming right up.
Well, Mother's Day is on Sunday. Don't forget, because you want to make sure that mom is loved and gifted and taken care of on Sunday. And you can have DoorDash help you to love mom on Sunday. You can surprise her from wherever you're at with whatever gift fits what she likes. Make sure you get what she likes. Don't get what you like. Get what she likes. So no matter what she's into, make her smile with the help of DoorDash. You can get all of your Mother's Day gifts all in one place with DoorDash and get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend 15 plus on flowers or convenience or groceries or retail. Just use our promo code LockedOnMLB. So download DoorDash today. Use our promo code LockedOnMLB. You'll get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend 15 plus on whatever you get for mom on Mother's Day. Order using DoorDash today, and remember, some terms do apply. And you, if you haven't, need to download Monopoly Go. It's a whole lot of fun. Join what over 150 million people have done in just the last few months. They've downloaded Monopoly Go, and it is a blast. It's a great twist on Monopoly, where you play on not just one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building amazing cities that bring you all the big money so you can brag. Pretend money is fun to brag over. Plus, the best part is you can play with family and friends. And when you're playing Monopoly Go, you can charge them rent on those iconic properties, just like in the classic Monopoly. Then there's some twists where you can make a heist on your friend's vault of riches for yourself. We just call that playing Monopoly with John. And so there's also leaderboards where you can track to see how you're doing against friends and family. And if you don't want to play against friends and family, they have tournaments timed around the world where you can jump in, you can play. There's huge rewards. So download Monopoly Go right now. It's free in the App Store and the Google Play Store.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Everydayers, don't forget to make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day, bringing you the biggest stories from across the sports world. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. It's streaming 24/7 on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV Channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Speaking of your team every day, the Angels are playing the Royals tonight, 6:38 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Johnny, let's talk about that schedule. Let's see what's coming up.
Got to check my schedule.
Because the Angels need a break. I feel like they've been playing a lot of really good teams. We've been playing a lot of away games, too.
They have had one of the harder schedules to start the season. There was a great tweet that kind of put out like, hey, these 5 teams have had it really tough. So yeah. At least we have that going for us, Mike.
Right. So they obviously are playing the Royals this weekend. It's a 4-game series. We're going to recap all of those games on Monday on Locked On Angels. Then after the Royals, they've got 3 games against the St. Louis Cardinals, John.
Yeah, at home.
Are struggling, and they're at 15-21 as of this recording. So that's a team that will be coming in. We'll talk about if they're going to do well against them or not.
Have you seen the video of, there was a recent video of Goldschmidt?
Yeah.
Just somebody was like, bro, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, just swinging at everything, Mike. It was bad.
2 pitches way out of the zone he swung at, and then didn't swing at a pitch right down the middle. So something's up with just his timing and his awareness, and him and Arenado are just really, really struggling. So that's a game we'll talk about in just a minute, and a series we'll talk about in just a minute. Then after the Cardinals, the Angels finally play a division rival in the Rangers at Texas. And that's a 3-game series. The Rangers are 21-16 as of this recording. Then they go to the Astros for 3 games. Astros are 12-23 as of this recording. And then they go back home and they play the Guardians, who of course are pretty good, 24-13. That's 3 games. Then they've got 3 games against the Yanks, 3 games against the Mariners away. Then they open June against the Padres for 3 games. They're at 500 right now. And then they play the Astros at home for 3 more games. So, Johnny, as you look at this schedule, is there anything that makes you go, okay, I think we have a shot here. I think we have a shot here. I think they might do well here. Or do you look at this and go, man, it's going to be pretty tough. What are your thoughts and feelings from your fan heart?
So the Cardinals series, I feel like, is one that they could definitely take 2 out of 3 because they're down on their luck. The Angels also are not playing great. They're playing better lately. And as we've said, they have hung in there with really good teams.
Yeah.
And they either run themselves out of the inning and run into outs, or, somebody blows the save or what have you.
Doesn't slide.
It doesn't slide, right? Just doing silly little things. Mike, if they can just stop with that stuff.
Yeah.
Stop the nonsense, right? Hashtag stop the nonsense, Angels. I think that they can have success against the teams that they should be beating. And the Pittsburgh Pirates are an example of the kinds of teams they should be beating. They are also under 500 right now. And so it was good for them to pick up a series win. Sometimes that's the frustrating thing about Angels baseball is that they end up beating the teams that they should beat, but then they end up at 500 anyway. So it's like, you have a little bit of a dangling carrot of hope that you're like, oh, maybe they can do this. And then no. Rangers, the pitching staff is hurting right now. And a lot of their guys are not coming back for a while. And even the replacements, not necessarily like Dane Dunning is like a backup.
Right.
He's been part of their rotation. Now his shoulder is hurt. So it's just this Rangers rotation is beat up. Now you always have to worry about their offense.
Yeah.
Because they can just pour on the runs like they did against Oakland the other day. So those are going to be slugfests, I guess. If you think about it, it's always a slugfest with the Rangers, especially at Globe Life Field. The Astros, Mike, I know we're playing them twice, 2 series coming up. And to me, I'm just like, don't get me wrong. I'm indulging in the Astros struggling so bad. But how long is that going to last?
Right.
Really?
Right.
Like when do they turn it around?
Yeah.
And will it be against us?
Yeah, I'm with you 100% because it is the Astros. And if they're going to get right, we would be the team that they would get right against. And right now, nothing seems to be going their way. And even their superstars are not pitching very well.
Yeah, Verlander didn't pitch too great or too terribly, but just not, what you would expect out of Verlander, right?
Right. And so that might be a dangerous series. Plus, it's away. They're playing in the what do you call it? Their stadium. You call it like the fruit box or
the juice box is what people call it. I call it the jigsaw puzzle.
That's what
I hate those stupid walls that go in and out, and then they had that hill for a long time. What a stupid stadium.
So very Astros.
Look, the Guardians and the Yanks. That'll
be tough.
That'll be tough. We hung in there with the Guardians, but that a tough series. For sure to lose.
We are at home, and that's the benefit. Although the Angels have notoriously been better road team over the last few years than a home team, and that's the other piece too. Is it feels like we haven't been at home for very much, and so to be at home and to not have to travel might be beneficial to the Angels as they play some of these more difficult teams. Although they're difficult teams for a reason. Yeah,
Yanks got Juan Soto now, and the benefits are there, Michael, and you can see that out of them. Mariners, easy 3-game sweep against the Mariners. Not going to be a problem. No, you know what? Best pitching, best rotation in baseball, honestly. And so getting runs against the Mariners is going to be tough. But you know what? They don't score very many runs either.
No, I think these will be really tight games, and these will be the frustrating games where we're like, man, they had a runner on and they didn't do anything with it. That is the series where they're going to need to bunt. They're going to need to make contact, and they're going to need to move runners over. And the bullpen's going to have to do what they did yesterday against the Pirates. They're going to have to be really good.
Can we get Trout back in time for the Mariners series?
Oh, that'd be great.
He can be their father. Finally, Mike, Padres. That's going to be an exciting series.
Yeah.
And, they're 500 for a reason. They've got some injuries going on. Not everybody is firing on all cylinders.
Got to play Luis Arraez again in that series.
Yeah, no kidding. And then home against the Astros again. Like I said, when do the Astros turn it around? So a couple things need to happen across these series. The bats need to stay hot. They need to get hot if they have not been hot. Our runners in scoring position certainly needs to improve. And I liked the nickel and diming that we saw yesterday against the Pirates. And the Angels need to get healthy, and they got to stay healthy. I need Brandon Drury back out there, and I need his bat in this lineup because he needs consistency. And when he's consistent, he's past April, so his slow start is over. Buddy, just get healthy. Like, do some stretches, bro. Put some ice on that hammy, and take care of yourself.
Fantasy players, it is time for you to download Prize Picks. It's the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. And they're the easiest and most simplest way to play daily fantasy sports. You're going to love it. You're not playing against thousands of other people, pros and sharks. You're playing against you and the numbers. So simple to play. You pick between 2 and 6 players and decide if that player is going to produce more than or less than the projected stat. And the projected stat is something very simple where it makes it pretty easy for you to decide if it's going to be more or less. So even if you're not a fantasy junkie and you're kind of like just, dabbling in fantasy, you're still going to be great with Prize Picks. And you can also get a really great offer from Prize Picks. They have weekly promotions and special offers for some of the biggest moments in sports, and you can win big prizes with Prize Picks. Plus, once you win, you get some resource. They offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits so that you can deposit that into your account and perhaps maybe get mom a gift for Mother's Day. That's another reminder, by the way. So download the app today, enter our promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and get this. With that promo code, you get a first deposit match of up to $100. So you start with $100 from Prize Picks as a gift to you because you put in the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. So join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
The Angels are starting a 4-game set at home against the Kansas City Royals. Just want to note, you mentioned this earlier, Mike, because of our schedules sometimes and when there's a 4-game wraparound series, we like to cover all 4 games on Monday, like we usually do when it's a 3-game set from Friday to Sunday. So just an FYI, we won't be covering game 1, which is tonight on tomorrow's show, but we will cover the entire series, including game 1, on Monday's show. So we will be here tomorrow, just not covering game 1. So that's just a little programming note for you. But believe it or not, Mike, the Royals playing some decent baseball this year. They are currently second in the AL Central as of this recording. They're 2.5 games back behind the Guardians. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They have a plus 46 run differential. So They have scored 46 more runs than they've given up. They've played a good mix of bad teams and good teams. The key there is that they've beaten the teams that they should have beaten for the most part. They have had a couple of surprises, and they've also lost some games that maybe they shouldn't have, but yeah, man, they've certainly beaten up on the White Sox. They swept them in a 4-game set to start the year, and then they took 2 or 3, or maybe it was 3 or 4 just a little while ago. So that's going to help your run differential. That's going to help your record. But they are in the AL Central with the White Sox, so more power to them. Mike, talk about what's changed with this Royals team in 2024 that's actually made them a competitive team.
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. is their guy, signed a long-term deal in the offseason, and he's in his 3rd season and really starting to become the leader that they want him to be on and off the field. He's batting second, and he's leading the team in runs scored. Here's his slash line, Johnny: 319, 385 on base, 542 slugging, and a 927 OPS. Also, by the way, 13 stolen bases.
Yeah,
so the guy is stealing some bags. And then Salvi Perez, who you always think he's like in his 40s, but he's not. He's still kind of in the prime of his career.
He's only 34, Mike.
Right. The guy's incredible. He's leading the team in RBIs and home runs. Here's his slash line: 326 batting average, 385 on base, 558 slugging, and a 945 OPS. And it's great to see him performing. He's actually one of my favorite non-Angels. I really love that guy.
Yeah. And, he's part of that World Series team. And, that's 9 years ago now.
Right.
And he's 34 now. He was 25 back then. So he's just been around forever, and he's been on the Royals the whole time. And so that really makes a difference. Mike, they spent money.
They did.
This offseason. They actually did some things that the Angels should have done. Do you remember in the offseason, and I'm laughing because I sounded like such an idiot now, but I said the Angels are, to me, probably in on the starting pitching arms that you want them to be in on, the Montgomerys and the Blake Snells. I know Snell's not doing great right now, but just the arms that you would like to see them go after. And I said, if they were just going to settle, they would have gotten guys like Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo already. Well, they didn't do any of that. They spent money on the bullpen, and that was it. But the Royals, on the other hand, they got Michael Wacha. They got Seth Lugo, 2 arms that they added to their rotation. Now, Wacha is struggling. We'll talk about him in a minute. But Seth Lugo has been weirdly good this season. They signed some bullpen help too. Tyler Duffy has been great. Will Smith has a 9 ERA right now. He's given up 11 runs across 11 innings. And then Jordan Lyles has also been very good for them as well. And then, Mike, the pitching. The starting pitching for this team is really coming around. And it's actually really interesting because they added these two guys in Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha, but then they also have 3 guys that they're really hyped on, including Brady Singer, who I've heard nothing but good things about Brady Singer and the way he pitches, but he's had like a 5 ERA in every year that I've been paying attention to. This year, he has a 166 ERA plus, which means he's 66% better than league average. Mike, his whip, 0.967.
Favorite stat.
Less than 1 hitter per inning getting on base there. Cole Reagans, who is on my fantasy team.
He's your boy.
He's my boy. He came over from the Rangers last year for Aroldis Chapman, and I keep saying at the trade deadline, they have to get a trade like a Cole Reagans for Aroldis Chapman. The Royals made him a starter. He's been really good for them, 121 ERA plus, 21% better than league average. Seth Lugo, Mike, a 1.92 ERA so far, and a 213 ERA plus, meaning he's 113% better than the league. So how do the Angels match up starting tonight, Mike?
Yeah, it starts with Michael Wacha versus Reed Detmer. So Wacha's 1-4. He's got a 5.5 ERA. He's got a lower chase, whiff, and K rate this year. So it doesn't seem like he's really fooling anybody, which might be good for the Angels to make some contact. Then Friday, Alec Marsh versus Griffin Canning. So Marsh is coming off of a trip to the IL. He's 3-0, 5 starts, 2.7 ERA, a 1.52 ERA plus. Nothing really stands out about him on his baseball savant page other than he has a low walk percentage. His expected ERA is 4.68. So that's interesting. Yeah. And expected batting average is 288. So all of his pitches are outperforming the expected results, Johnny.
Yeah, so maybe due for some regression, kind of toward the mean, right?
This weekend's perfect.
Yes, let's start it on Friday. By the way, that's on Apple TV. The Royals Angels game on Friday. It's just FYI, everybody. Saturday is Cole Reagans versus Tyler Anderson. Again, he's 2-2 with a 3.38 ERA. He's got he's got an 8.2 hits per 9. So you can get some hits off of Cole Reagans. The Angels are going to have to stack up hits, find ways to score. Again, they got a nickel and dime.
Yep.
And finally, on Sunday, it's Seth Lugo, who, again, a 1.5 ERA versus Patrick Sandoval. Lugo became a full-time starter last year with the Padres, and he's hard to figure out this year. How is he doing this? Here's kind of what I suspect. His four-seam fastball right now has a run value of +4. So he's preventing essentially 4 runs with that fastball, right? But it only sits 92 to 93, Mike. And so for me, it's a really weird situation. However, it could be this ginormous pitching arsenal that he has. He's got a 4-seam, a sinker, a curveball, a slider, a slurve, a cutter, a changeup, and a sweeper. So don't lie, everybody. I know when you do Road to the Show and you're a starting pitcher, you add like 8 pitches to your character.
And a partridge in a pear tree, apparently.
That's right. But here's what I think it is, Mike. There's a 10 to 12 mile per hour difference between his fastball and his off-speed stuff.
Okay.
So in addition to that huge repertoire of all those pitches he's throwing, he's got a huge speed differential between that low 90s fastball and then everything else that he's throwing other than the sinker. But the sinker, the slider, and the slurve, those are the pitches to do damage on based on their expected stats, because those pitches right now are outperforming the expected batting average and the expected slugging. And so the Angels really should learn to jump on those pitches. But again, that 10 to 12 mile per hour speed differential between his fastball and his off-speed stuff, we might see a lot of batters fooled on Sunday against Seth Lugo.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels start that series against the Royals tonight, 6:38 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, find today's show, get in the comments section, hit that subscribe button and the like button on your way down to the comment section. It's the best way to get in touch with Mike and I and be part of the conversation. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show.
The good, the bad, and the ugly from April. We're going to talk about all of it. Was there any good? There was. Was there a lot of bad? Yeah, there was. So we're going to talk about all of that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
We always like to do good, the bad, and the ugly after the month, but because of my sickness, we didn't get a chance to do it. So we will do that tomorrow. Yes, my disease, my illness. So we hope you look forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
Negative? It's negative? Oh, negative's good?
Negative's good.